One of the most famous structures in Ollantaytambo is the Temple of the Sun. There, we can find remarkable stonework, which includes large slabs of pink granite, intricately carved and precisely aligned. This precision, along with the scale and the transportation of these stone blocks, indicates a highly advanced level of technological and engineering sophistication that was not yet available to the Incas.
In early 2025, when ultra-high-resolution 3D laser scans were fed into the Grok AI system, the results sent shockwaves through the archaeological world, instead of confirming the mastery of Inca engineering as long believed. The AI uncovered a vast data abyss stretching across thousands of years. The data did more than raise questions. It tore open the official timeline itself, exposing a deeply unsettling truth about human civilization. So, what is that truth? Let's begin decoding the buried secret, the official story. The flow of history that we learn in every textbook begins and ends at a single milestone, the year 1440 AD. This is the moment when Emperor Pachacuti, the great ruler of the Inca Empire, is believed to have ordered the transformation of the Urubamba Valley into a supreme religious and military center. According to this interpretation, Ollantaytambo stands as a symbol of Inca organizational power, a testament to the Mit'a labor system, in which tens of thousands of subjects from across the empire were mobilized to serve royal projects. Mainstream archaeologists describe an inspiring vision: teams of workers wielding hard river stone hammers and copper chisels, patiently shaping blocks of exceptionally hard pink granite. This perseverance is said to have lasted for decades. As human muscle alone subdued the natural world, massive earthen ramps were raised. Thick ropes braided from ichu grass were tightly wound, and thousands of people moved in unison to shouted rhythms as they hauled 50-ton stones across the violent Urubamba River. Scattered blocks along the route, known today as the tired stones, are often presented by tour guides as living proof that construction was abruptly halted by the Spanish invasion. The story is neat and satisfying. It honors indigenous ingenuity and offers a logical structure for technological evolution, from stone to copper, from crude beginnings to increasing complexity. Yet this theoretical comfort begins to fracture when we look closely at the nature of pink granite itself. This stone reaches a Mohs hardness of 7, comparable to quartz, and shaping it with copper chisels, a far softer material, presents a physical paradox. Modern experiments show that copper tools become flattened and worn after only a few strikes against granite, leaving no meaningful cuts behind. Even so, faith in the 600-year timeline is defended like a fortress of knowledge, because admitting another possibility would require rewriting the entire chronology of South American civilization. The safety of official history lies in its refusal to examine the gaps, the places where river stones cannot explain mirror-smooth surfaces or the absolute precision of stone joints. It is precisely at this limit of manual explanation that modern data analysis enters the story. When Spanish chronicles by writers such as Garcilaso de la Vega and Sarmiento de Gamboa are compared, a strange detail emerges. When the Inca themselves were asked about the origin of these megalithic blocks, they replied that they did not build them. They spoke of gods or giants who raised the walls in a single night. In the Inca worldview, they were inheritors rather than creators, people who found these ruins already in a state of decay and built upon them in order to harness the sacred power of the site. This indigenous testimony was long dismissed as vague myth, until artificial intelligence in the 21st century began peeling back layers of data and revealing a far colder reality. What did the technology really find? The intervention of Grok AI began with the processing of billions of data points from LiDAR and surface laser scans. The pink granite at Ollantaytambo is unlike any other construction stone in the region. Its high feldspar crystal content gives it exceptional hardness, and a distinctive light-reflecting quality. When the AI conducted microstructural analysis on the finished surfaces, it uncovered a deeply unsettling fact. The cuts on the 50-ton megaliths do not resemble marks left by chisels or blunt impacts. Instead, the data shows surface transitions smoothed down to the micrometer level, a feature commonly associated with high-pressure machining or focused thermal cutting. Even more striking are the results of the chemical analysis of the weathering layer. According to geological principles, once a stone surface is cut, it begins to oxidize and its crystal structure slowly breaks down under environmental exposure. Grok AI compared the rate of feldspar decay on the massive megaliths with the rough Perca walls that were certainly built by the Inca right beside them. The results revealed a data silence that cannot be reconciled. The weathering layer on the 50-ton blocks is significantly thicker, indicating that they have been exposed to the Andean atmosphere for thousands of years longer than the Inca structures. This is not a minor discrepancy. It is a complete rupture in chronology. Laser measurements show that these stones possess surfaces so perfectly flat that deviations are measured in thousandths of an inch over a length of 3 meters. In a world limited to stone and copper tools, achieving such precision is unthinkable. Even with millions of hours of manual labor, the AI simulated shaping techniques using stone hammers and found that mechanical impacts always leave microscopic percussion cones beneath the stone surface. Yet, on the 6 monolithic blocks of the Temple of the Sun, these features are entirely absent. In their place is a surface structure that looks as if the stone was temporarily softened or its physical state altered before being cooled and hardened again. This contradiction leads to a new understanding of time itself. If these blocks show weathering consistent with objects that have existed for many millennia, yet bear cut marks produced by a technology more advanced than anything we possess today, then we are facing a true time paradox. Grok AI identifies that what we have long called unfinished construction is in fact the surviving fragments of a much larger structure that was destroyed. The scans reveal traces of water erosion inconsistent with the current rainfall patterns of the Andes, suggesting that these stones once existed within a completely different hydrological environment, possibly shaped by a massive flood in the distant past. When the laws of physics no longer make sense, if we discard the idea of an active construction site and begin to view Ollantaytambo as a crime scene, the laws of physics themselves begin to push back against the old narrative. Grok AI ran a kinetic simulation based on the current positions of the discarded megalithic blocks. In any logical building project, stones would be stacked or neatly aligned along transport routes. Here, the 50-ton granite blocks are scattered in chaotic postures. Some are overturned, others tilted at 45-degree angles, and many are half-buried beneath layers of ancient mud. The AI calculated that to violently dislodge a 50-ton block from its position and leave the impact signatures visible today would require an energy release equivalent to a magnitude 9 earthquake or a massive tsunami surging far inland. The entire logic of Inca workers dragging stones uphill with ropes collapses when the AI analyzes friction coefficients and slope angles. With a 50-ton block on a 30-degree Andean incline, a rope braided from plant fibers would snap instantly under extreme tensile stress before the stone could move even a single inch, even with 3,000 people pulling at once. Synchronizing force on the narrow geometry of a mountainside is mathematically impossible. The AI also noted that the protruding knobs on the stone surfaces, long assumed to be rope anchor points, show no deep abrasion marks from friction. If they had truly been used to haul 50-ton blocks across 4 miles of rugged terrain, these stone features would be worn down or fractured. Instead, they remain sharp and clean, as if designed for an entirely different technological purpose, possibly as connection nodes in an energy system or mechanical coupling points. In the area known as the Stone Garden, dozens of megaliths with identical precision cuts lie piled atop one another like a deck of cards thrown into the air. The AI determined that this arrangement is not the result of human behavior. It is the signature of hydraulic or geological force. These stones were not waiting to be set into walls. They are the remains of a wall that was destroyed. The concept of unfinished construction is a cognitive misinterpretation by early archaeologists who could not accept that such a monumental structure might have been shattered by a natural force they had never witnessed. The absurdity extends to the precision of the joints within the unstable geological setting of Peru. The stones are fitted together in complex polygonal forms that create a structure capable of canceling seismic waves. The AI found that this design is not decorative. It is a high-level engineering solution intended to withstand extreme vibrations of the Earth's crust. Evidence from the quarry and geological time. To decode the data silence identified by Grok AI, researchers had to look deep beneath the present ground surface using ground-penetrating radar. At the Catastrophic quarry, and directly beneath the foundation of the Temple of the Sun, radar data revealed a shocking stratigraphic structure. A sterile mud layer nearly 2 meters thick lies between the megalithic foundation and the Inca construction above it. This layer contains no traces of human activity, such as charcoal or pottery. In geology, such a sterile deposit is typically the fingerprint of a massive flood or a large-scale volcanic mudflow. The age of this mud layer, determined through thermoluminescence dating and feldspar crystal analysis, falls between 5,000 and 12,000 years ago. This is the true historical fracture point, according to the official timeline. 5,000 years ago, this region was home only to small hunter-gatherer groups. Yet Grok AI confirms that the granite blocks were cut and transported before this mud layer buried them. This means that Ollantaytambo is in fact a monument from before the last geological catastrophe of the Pleistocene era. At the Catastrophic quarry itself, the contrast between eras is brutally clear. In the upper rock layers, we find laser-like cuts, where stone appears to have been removed as if sliced with a heated blade. Right beside them, in lower layers, are the crude marks of stone hammers and copper chisels left by the Inca. This contrast does not represent progress. It represents regression. The Inca attempted to reuse an ancient quarry, but they could only gather smaller fragments or struggle to reshape blocks abandoned by an earlier civilization. Grok AI conducted a chemical comparison between the quarry surfaces and the monoliths at the temple. It detected an extremely thin vitrified glaze on both surfaces. This glaze forms when stone is momentarily heated to the point of surface melting, creating a protective layer against weathering. This is a technology we are only beginning to explore today through plasma-based stone processing. The presence of this glaze on ancient megaliths and its absence on stones carved by the Inca is compelling evidence of a tool set that vanished completely after the catastrophe. The 5,000-year data silence marks the period when Ollantaytambo lay dormant beneath mud and oblivion. For 5 millennia, the massive granite blocks remained buried, shielding their refined cuts from wind erosion. When the Inca arrived in the 15th century, they undertook an excavation project rather than a construction one. They unearthed these colossal walls, stood in awe of their scale, and began to venerate the site as a fortress of the gods. Unable to move the overturned 50-ton blocks, they built smaller stone walls around them, attempting to patch together a usable structure from a sacred ruin. Geological time does not lie. Deep weathering within quartz crystals points to an age far older than any Inca dynasty. What we are seeing is a cycle of collapse and reoccupation. The first civilization mastered the control of stone. A catastrophe erased them. 5,000 years later, a new civilization rose, standing on the shoulders of giants without understanding how those giants achieved their feats. Ollantaytambo is not the beginning of an empire. It is the final echo of a golden age long dead. Precision that shatters every rule. The sharpest break in perception emerges when the so-called sacred stone is directly compared with the ordinary stone. Grok AI analyzed the parallel alignment of the joining surfaces on 6 pink monoliths. The deviation in flatness between two 50-ton blocks measures only 0.02 millimeters across an area of 3 square meters. To achieve this, the surfaces were not merely polished. They had to be matched at a molecular scale. If even a single grain of sand had fallen between them, the joint could never have sealed with such perfection. This suggests that the stones may have been set in place under conditions of near weightlessness, or lifted by an absolutely stable force that human strength could never sustain. When the AI turned its focus to the surrounding walls built by the Inca, known as the pre-Inca style, the contrast became almost absurd. These walls are made from smaller, irregular stones, bonded with mud and crude mortar. This represents the highest level of craftsmanship achievable by a Bronze Age society. The difference is like placing the motherboard of a modern supercomputer inside a wooden box carved with an axe. The Inca did not attempt to conceal this contrast. They revered the ancient blocks so deeply that they built around them, treating those flawless granite surfaces as sacred objects beyond human interference. The strange stone protrusions that have long fueled archaeological debate were examined by Grok AI through the lens of fractal geometry, rather than serving as rope anchors. The AI found that they follow mathematical patterns associated with the dissipation of acoustic energy. A startling hypothesis emerges. These stones may have been transported and shaped using acoustic resonance technology. In this model, the protrusions function as frequency tuning nodes, allowing builders to soften the crystalline structure of granite using standing waves. This explains why there are no mechanical tool marks, and why the stone surfaces display a glass-like glaze as if briefly melted. The AI also identified a small but crucial detail. T-shaped grooves were carved into the stone to receive molten metal clamps that locked blocks together. Spectral analysis shows that the original metal has long since vanished, leaving behind a chemical signature unlike any copper or gold used by the Inca. It contains traces of rare alloys with extraordinary strength. When the Inca encountered these grooves, they lacked the corresponding metal to replace them, and so they left them empty or filled them with mud. Here, the modest scale of successor civilizations becomes unmistakably clear. The Inca were master builders who constructed thousands of kilometers of Andean roads. Yet when faced with Ollantaytambo, they were gatherers rather than creators. They encountered a complex system that had already failed and attempted to restart it in the most primitive way possible. The tilted 50-ton blocks, which they could not re-erect, were repurposed as platforms for altars. An ancient technological or energy center was transformed into a religious sanctuary. This shift from function to belief is a classic sign of a society that has lost the key knowledge of its predecessors. Every edge and every laser measurement points to the same conclusion. The precision at Ollantaytambo is not the product of time or perseverance. It is the result of a completely different mode of material control. This was the precision of a civilization that did not need to struggle to flatten stone. They possessed tools that made such results a standard process. When those tools vanished in a catastrophe, what remained was a benchmark that 5,000 years later, humanity can only observe with awe and disbelief. Evidence pointing in only one direction: all data pathways, from feldspar crystal decay to AI-modeled catastrophe shockwaves and fractured geological strata, converge on a single conclusion that official history has long avoided. Ollantaytambo is a relic from an era before the last great cataclysm. Under Grok AI analysis, a three-phase construction model becomes unmistakably clear. Phase 1. An advanced civilization with the ability to soften stone and manipulate gravitational forces built megalithic structures with absolute precision. Phase 2. A global disaster. occurring either around 12,000 years ago during the Younger Dryas or later around 5,000 years ago, hurled these blocks like toys and buried them in mud, creating a data silence that lasted for millennia. Phase 3. The Inca arrived, excavated the ruins, venerated them as works of the gods, and attempted to build upon them using their rubble stone techniques. When chronicles record the Inca admission that we did not build this place, it was already here in the earliest times. They were not speaking metaphorically. They were reporting a historical truth about a broken chain of inheritance. 20th century Western historians dismissed this honesty because it did not fit a linear model of human progress. Artificial intelligence carries no cultural bias. It sees only numbers, and the numbers state clearly that no Bronze Age society could produce a granite surface finished to 0.02 millimeters on a 50-ton block. Ollantaytambo reminds us that human history is not a straight ascent from crude origins to modernity. It is a sequence of cycles: rise, peak, collapse, oblivion. We are not the first technological apex on this planet. The data silence uncovered by Grok AI is not a lack of evidence. It is evidence of erasure. It marks a catastrophe that wiped out not only people, but their tools and knowledge, leaving behind only pink granite monoliths like gravestones for a ghost civilization. The 6 monolithic stones of the Temple of the Sun still stand, facing the rising sun, bearing cuts that even modern machinery cannot easily replicate. They are messages written in stone and sent forward through time. That message is not about how to build, but about our own fragility before the vast currents of time and the forces of the earth. When we stand before these walls, we are not merely looking into the Inca past. We are glimpsing a possible future, one in which our greatest achievements may one day become data silences for another civilization to excavate and revere. The true identity of the so-called gods who built Ollantaytambo may still lie buried beneath 15 feet of untouched sediment. But with the aid of artificial intelligence, the fog is beginning to lift. We are no longer asking how the Inca achieved this. We must ask who was here before them. The answer to that question may forever alter our place on the cosmic timeline, forcing us to accept that we are late arrivals in an ancient mansion that once glowed with technological brilliance. The truth of Ollantaytambo lies not in what the Inca built, but in what they could not build. Within that space of limitation, the silhouette of a lost great civilization now stands clearer than ever.